Hello and good morning. Welcome to the First 15 Accountability Call with Intentional Professionals. My name is Melinda B Powers and I am the hostess for your call. Thank you so much for being here. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about accountability in 15 short minutes. So first 5 minutes we spend talking about our wins. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. All right, so here we go. Okay, so first 5 minutes, we talk about introductions for anyone that's participating. If you are here with me, you can type in the chat and our wins. So I'm going to start with myself. My win from last week. So as you know, if you've been following, my me time for this week or this past week was supposed to be to come up with my pitch. And what ended up happening was in the midst of doing that, I had a really cool meeting with a marketing professional that I just met locally. And she gave me some really great advice. And so instead of moving forward on what I had planned, I took a step back and I took some of her advice and I started a transfer of my website and I started building some different kinds of tools, which I'm really excited about. They're going to be going live this week, so I can't wait to share them with you. And so that's what happened for me, is just getting a lot of clarity. If you follow my blog, I wrote about this book that I started listening to last week called Range by David Epstein. It's a great book. It's about being a generalist in a specialized world. And it really opened up my eyes to a lot of things I had been pondering about my path, and it gave me a lot of inspiration. So there were a few wins, unexpected wins that I didn't anticipate, but wins nonetheless. So just remember, sometimes the things we set out to do may get altered, they may get sidetracked or detoured, or they may morph into something even better than we imagined. So please stay encouraged and know that as long as you keep moving forward and just continue to put one foot in front of the other and take a step, just make at least one move every day towards your goal, you're going to get there and you're going to be very happy with the results. It's when we stop and when we give up that we are most disappointed in ourselves, because we didn't continue on and discover all of the things that were along that path that we could have taken advantage of. It's really hard to do that when you're not moving. And I know I get discouraged too. So please don't think that I'm always inspired and I'm always feeling like a go-getter. There are some times where I don't want to go get anything. I just want to sit down and, eat sweets or not do anything. But when I think about all of the things I want to accomplish, I have to do something, even if it's small. They don't have to be really big things. You're going to be seeing a lot more of Intentional Professionals content as well, because we were concentrating on LinkedIn at first. It's not quite as fertile as I had assumed. And so we're migrating onto all other social media platforms, including Facebook, which is how you're seeing me right now. And just wanting to share the message with more people and just making sure that everyone can take advantage of the great tools and tips and tricks and insight that we have to offer here, because I know it's plentiful and I know it's needed. So please understand that I really do care about helping others. And this is one way for me to try to reach out and do that a little bit better. So just remember that if you do participate, you share your wins in the chat. We'd love to see those. Experimenting right now with Zoom, going live on Facebook. So not quite adept at handling all this right now, but thank you for bearing with me. I can't see the chat on Facebook, but if you're there, please know I will go back and read your messages. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next piece. So the second 5 minutes, what I like to do is I like to at least just take a subject and talk about it, something that I know that could be encouraging and inspirational. And we call that kudos and support. So kudos to me for figuring something out last week. And now I want to encourage you. And I want to talk about range, like I was saying. This week's blog post on the Intentional Professionals blog is about range. It's a book by David Epstein, as I previously said, and he's writing about why it's good to be a generalist in a specialized world. If you know anything about generalist versus specialist, it's kind of a controversial issue. A lot of people will argue that being a specialist is better. You know, we had that concept of 10,000 hours makes you an expert and things of that nature. And people want to be considered the GOAT in the top of their game. And that's great. And I'm not taking anything away from any of that. However, in certain instances, if you're not able to have more range and more breadth instead of depth, then it can be damaging. It can hurt you a little bit. There are even studies that the author talks about in the book that show that specialists like doctors, even they aren't as good over time because they only focus on one area. It's when you're able to branch out and learn about other things and see things from other perspectives and bring that back and compare and make analysis and make analogies about the other aspects that you have learned about, that you can come up with innovative, new and fresh ideas. And so I'm all about innovation. As you know, I've talked about that on this platform several times. And it made me think a lot about my journey and how I always seem to feel like I was hopping from one thing to another in comparison to my counterparts that were kind of sticking and staying in their careers. And I felt a negative reaction to that. And I always thought that made me look bad, not understanding that I was gathering different viewpoints and perspectives and insight to give me more breadth. I pride myself on being able to find a point to relate to people on. So even if I'm out mingling and socializing, it's usually my goal when I'm speaking to someone is, you know, learn about them. Who are they? What do they do? What's important to them? And see if I can find some kind of common thread that we can connect on. Without that, I don't really know if connection is possible. So that's something that I always seek to do. And it's not something that I think I was always necessarily conscious of, but when you know a lot about, you know a little about a lot of things, you can usually find those little points pretty easily. And I find that to be the case. I may not be a whiz at something, but if I know just a little bit about it and that's something that they love, if I can show that like, hey, oh, so blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yes, you know, they light up and they get to talk about the thing they love to someone who has some kind of interest in it. And I think that's really valuable. You know, we could talk about EQ and all of that too, but I think it's a really valuable skill to have, especially if you're leading people in an organization, you're leading a team. And I don't know if that's valued enough, because when you don't have that ability and that skill, it's kind of tough to get people to your side and rally for your vision if you don't show that you connect to them and what's interesting to them. So to kind of keep that in mind, take that with you this week and think about what kind of range you have or what kind of range you can collect to make you more relatable and to give you that vision that a specialist can't really see. If all I know is computers and I'm having a specific issue that I've never encountered before, it's going to be a little harder for me to come up with a new, fresh idea than it is for someone who may have a lot of different experience, maybe not just with computers, but with other mechanical objects or other electrical objects, or even analog things. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, and finding ways to connect those ideas is really important. So you'll probably hear me talk about this a little bit more in the future, because I really am kind of nerding out on this book. But please check it out if you're not aware. I posted about it this morning. It's on the blog, and it's something that I will be talking about again in the future. So stay encouraged, stretch your range, acknowledge your range, appreciate your range. That's what I'm going to be doing from now on, is appreciating my range, because it is important. And the last 5 minutes, we talk about your me time. And me, it stands for our most impactful item, kind of like you pronounce the Nintendo Wii. And it's just a way for us to acknowledge a goal, set it, and commit to it. So whatever that thing is that if you accomplished it this week, you would feel like you hung the moon. That's what your me time is going to be. So I'll start with myself, of course. And I will say that my me time is completing the second Intentional Professionals course that it should be going live this Wednesday, March 1st. It is called Priceless Self-Love. Okay, so I know what you're thinking, like, what does that have to do with professionalism and business? Actually, quite a lot. And this is, in my experience and observation, even though, yes, finances are important, yes, strategy is important, yes, management is important, but so is the individual well-being of all the people in an organization. When I was a business consultant with the SBDC, it didn't take me long to recognize that the business owners that came in with problems, they were never really business problems at the root. They were personal issues. They were about them personally, their level of self-esteem, self-worth, how they viewed themselves. It was about their habits. How consistent were they? Did they have good ones? Were they changing that? Or their processes and systems? What tools were they leveraging to get things done and to advance and try to scale? And so that is what became the Intentional Professionals philosophy, which I call the PROS, person, rules, and operations. And is really the foundation of what this was created on. And it's super important, but it's not something that I hear people talk about a lot in business. People talk about social media and marketing. They talk about sales. They talk about, getting business credit and all of that stuff, which is, I'm not discounting any of those things, but you're going to be hard pressed to really take advantage of that stuff if you don't have a great foundation set to begin with. And I've seen it play out time and time again. I don't think business failure has anything to do with a lack of good ideas or good products or good services. There are plenty of people who have great things to offer in the market. They just don't have a lot of those foundational pieces solid, and they tend to fail. And I've been there. I've been one of them. So I know from experience, as well as observing other businesses. And you don't have to be wonderful as a business to stay in business. There are a lot of businesses that are not so great, but they are maintaining and they're able to sustain what they're doing. And that's fine. You have good and bad in everything. But if you are serious about being intentional with your business or your career, then you would want to address these things that I'll be addressing in this course. So it's called Priceless Self-Love. Like I said, it's actually available for pre-sale already. If you just want to go ahead and get that, because that's something you need. It'll be launching officially on March 1st. So if you do buy in the pre-sale, you won't be able to access the content until Wednesday. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be really different. And because we hear self-love discussed a lot, and self-esteem and all of that with, coaching gurus and things of that nature. And again, I want to offer something that I'm not seeing and hearing a lot of, and that's what I'll be doing in this course. So if anyone is here with me, I hope you're sharing in the chat what your me time is, and that big goal that if you accomplished it this week, you would just feel like you conquered the world. And I hope that you do that. And I hope that you come back next week and share with me whether or not you accomplished that goal and set your next goal. I want to be here for you for accountability purposes. I am your ultimate accountability partner. I will be here every Monday from 9 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. to give you just a little tidbit of time to toot your own horn, time to inspire you, and then time to set the next goal. I hope that this has been valuable for you, and I look forward to engaging with all of you in the future, whether that's on Thinkific with the coursework, whether it's on my website, the blog, but please feel free to comment ask questions, and engage with me. I love to meet new people and talk about what we're doing here at Intentional Professionals. Thank you so much. We're out of time. We've got about 10 seconds left. That 15 minutes goes really fast, but thank you for being here with me, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.